See, to me, life is comprised of a series of choices. The choices each of us makes will determine where life takes us. Make good choices and life will reward you accordingly. But life can be daunting to those who constantly make bad choices, thus keeping them in a mental rut. And a rut is no more than a grave with the sides kicked out. So you definitely don't want to remain in that state of mind. We tend to think ourselves into ruts, but by the same token, we have the mental capacity to also think ourselves out of ruts. I believe it was Winston Churchill who said that if you're going through hell, keep going. Okay, the way that it works is this. You change your thinking, and that changes your attitude. Your attitude, in turn, changes your actions. And once your action changes, it eventually changes your destiny. Man, and I'm also referring to woman, is literally what he thinks, just as much as he is what he eats. We are all no more than the complete sum of our thoughts. And our ability to think is what most significantly separates us from all of the other animals on earth, giving us dominion over all living creatures. Human beings are the only form of intelligent life that we know of on the planet, or anywhere for that matter. One of the keys to success is learning self-control and practicing restraint. Negative emotions will never help you and will almost always harm you. Take me for example. I graduated magna cum laude with a degree in computer information systems. I've worked for and consulted with Fortune 500 companies, and I have a great military background. And I never imagined I would have a run-in with the law. However, I allowed negative emotions to cause me to do something totally out of character and land me in a federal prison. The Bible says, be angry and sin not. That's good advice regardless of your religious or spiritual beliefs. Wouldn't you agree? What inspired me to start the show was the time I spent in prison. I was sentenced to a 13-month prison term for computer invasion, and I discovered that failure will strengthen you if you let it. The important things are to be forthcoming, show contrition, forgive yourself, remain positive, and move forward with your life. When something negative happens in your life, it's important not to dwell on it. You simply need to learn the lesson it's trying to teach you. We are all products of our past, but we need not be held prisoners of our past. My name is Eric McNeil, and I'm the host of the upcoming Eric McNeal Show, which is focused on inspiring people to live a more meaningful life, become more entrepreneurial, and learn to stop being afraid of failure, and actually learn to embrace it. The show will feature interviews with successful people from all walks of life and show you how ordinary people overcame insurmountable obstacles and setbacks to become extraordinary people. Many people seem to be waiting for the approval of others or waiting for a sign to strike out and do something extraordinary. My attitude is that you received that so-called sign when you were born. When I allude to being more entrepreneurial, it doesn't necessarily mean starting your own company, although that would be great, and I do encourage that. But you can also be employed by another organization and yet still be very entrepreneurial. Regardless of where you work, we all represent ourselves as a brand. It's Me Inc. that I represent when I go to a job interview or try to sell myself and my ideas to others. We are all part of this global society, and America's economy specifically is based on knowledge. Therefore, in order to increase your chances of becoming successful in our knowledge-based economy, it helps to be well-educated, innovative, and creative. Young people, especially young African-American males, seem to have the most difficult time trying to fit into mainstream society. I feel that you can assimilate into the mainstream and yet still maintain your identity. I'm proud to be an African American, but I'm still part of the American fabric. I embrace our country's free enterprise system, and I also agree that we are all endowed by the Creator with the unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, as written in our Declaration of Independence. Now, can America do a better job at living up to this ideal? Absolutely, there's room for improvement. As one who embraces capitalism, I see nothing wrong with obtaining those accoutrements afforded by hard-working citizens in this country. And I'll use my guests to show people how to move toward the center of gravity where all the action is, versus living on the fringes of society and looking in from the outside. I don't place limits on myself. I think it's utterly self-defeating to place limits on what you can achieve. I absolutely, positively, and unequivocally believe that a person can accomplish anything he truly sets his mind to, so long as he believes in himself. Unfortunately, a person's doubts and fears usually get in his way, but there is nothing that can defeat you except yourself. Living a meaningful life is simply living a more purposeful and fulfilling life. Stephen Covey, the popular author and speaker who recently passed, used to put it this way: the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. While I was incarcerated, I had the opportunity to engage in some deep introspection and self-reflection of my own life to determine my main thing or my purpose to make my life more meaningful. See, you can't keep the main thing if you haven't discovered what the main thing is for you. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective, the main thing is different for each of us. See, many people allow their fear of failure to outweigh their desire to succeed. So they don't even try. This means they fail by default. Others will try a few times and give up. Now me, I'm totally unafraid of failure. I'll try till I die. I truly believe that the only thing to fear is fear itself. I've tried so often in life until now I embrace failure as the quickest way to success. But that doesn't mean I like to fail. Listen, Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao are professional boxers, right? Although they take a lot of hits in the ring, I'm willing to go out on a ledge and assume neither likes being hit. In fact, I'm willing to bet that Muhammad Ali, the greatest boxer of all time, didn't like being hit. But I doubt any of these men are afraid of being hit. Taking hits made them better boxers because they're trying to avoid being hit, which is ultimately not unlike the many failures that most successful people experience in life. So failing in life is akin to taking a hit in the ring. It doesn't feel pleasant, but it makes you stronger. This quote from one of the greatest athletes ever puts it all into perspective for me. I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed. Yes, Michael Jordan. See, you only become a failure when you fall down and refuse to get back up and try again. The late Aaliyah's song, Try Again, summed it up beautifully. If at first you don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again. Now that may not work with the person that you like, because he or she has to feel the same way. However, it does work with accomplishing your goals in life. So, while in prison, I got a chance to interact with many men whom I otherwise would likely not have ever met. In the course of my incarceration, I became, or at least I think I've become, a much more humble, understanding, and empathetic person. No, not pathetic, empathetic. There was a feeling of hopelessness and despondency in many of the individuals whom I met that was quite disturbing. I would often get involved in these lengthy conversations trying to help people see that they are greater than what they realize. I believe one of the greatest tragedies in life is for people to believe they are helpless and have no power to change their own destiny. It seems they have been taught how not to think as opposed to being taught how to think. Because our actions always follows our thoughts, it's impossible to be successful by thinking failure. I'm dyslexic and had a terrible time in elementary school. I had the worst handwriting you ever wanted to see. By far, I was the slowest reader in most of my classes, and I could barely speak 2 sentences without a meltdown. And I recall in 1 grade, the school suggested I be placed in a special education class because they felt I had a learning disability, although I wasn't diagnosed with dyslexia at that point. But fortunately, my parents intervened to prevent that. And in order to keep pace with the other children, I eventually had to learn to rely on my strengths and not dwell on my weaknesses. Today, too many people, both young and old alike, are being crushed under the weight of their weaknesses instead of relying on their strengths to lift them up and carry them to victory. People often say I look as though I'm in deep thought. In the drive home, I point about the importance of thinking and not mere daydreaming either. I sometimes reply with the rhetorical question, is that a bad thing? To me, the whole idea of being human is to be in the business of thinking. I think, therefore I am. Thinking gives human beings the unique ability to create, control, and alter their environment. Just how important is thinking? Well, if a meteor was headed toward our planet and threatened to destroy it, what creature on Earth besides the human being could potentially save the planet? Not the lion, not the tiger, nor the bear, not the big bad wolf, and not even your lovable Labrador retriever. Mankind would be our only hope for survival. Other than our Maker, we hold the keys to either sustain or end life as we know it. Our children don't stand a chance in a global society if they're not properly educated. Education allowed me to escape poverty. I feel that America, and especially the African American community, need an educational renaissance. And parents need to understand that it's ultimately their responsibility to ensure their children can read, write, and do mathematics. We have to be more aggressive and proactive about guiding our children into the so-called STEM fields of study, which includes science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Because they represent the future, I feel it's imperative to get young people to become critical thinkers. At the end of the day, hopefully the show will make you think in a more critical and a more positive manner. Hopefully those who watch the show will also discover the greatness that is buried deep inside of their subconscious mind. I want people to realize that they will eventually go as far as they allow their thoughts to carry them. The power to change the world lies within you.